The narcissist's final destination in relationships reveals a harsh truth that contradicts their carefully curated image of being universally desired and perpetually sought after. As years accumulate and their manipulation tactics become increasingly transparent, they discover that their options narrow considerably until they settle with someone who represents not their ideal choice but the best they can still manipulate. The person the narcissist ultimately ends up with tells a story of declining power, diminishing returns, and the inevitable consequences of a lifetime spent destroying connections rather than building them. This ending is neither romantic nor redemptive. It's simply the mathematical result of systematically burning through every genuine person willing to love them, the enabler who requires their dysfunction. The narcissist often ends up with someone whose own psychological wounds create a perfect storm of codependency. This person needs to be needed, requires someone to fix, or carries such profound self-worth issues that the narcissist's intermittent crumbs of affection feel like abundance. They've structured their entire identity around being the long-suffering partner, the one who stays when others leave, the martyr whose loyalty proves their moral superiority over those who lacked their endurance. This dynamic creates a relationship built on mutual dysfunction, rather than genuine connection. The enabler provides constant validation and accepts perpetual mistreatment in exchange for the narcissist's sporadic attention and the role of indispensable caretaker. Neither person grows or heals. They simply become increasingly entrenched in patterns that allow them to avoid confronting their deepest wounds. The narcissist ages alongside someone who will never challenge their behavior, never establish real boundaries, and never threaten their false self-image with demands for authentic intimacy. The exhausted supply who gave up fighting. Many narcissists end up with someone who has simply stopped resisting their control, having been worn down through years of psychological warfare into a state of learned helplessness. This person once possessed boundaries, self-respect, and dreams for reciprocal partnership, but the narcissist systematically eroded these qualities until compliance became easier than constant conflict. They remain not because they love the narcissist, but because leaving requires energy they no longer possess. This relationship resembles a psychological imprisonment where the victim has adapted to captivity rather than escaped it. They've learned which battles to fight and which to surrender, which emotions to express and which to suppress, creating an existence of minimal disruption rather than genuine partnership. The narcissist ends up with the hollowed-out version of someone who might have been remarkable had they escaped in time to recover their vitality and sense of self. Another narcissist in mutual destruction. Some narcissists end up paired with another narcissist in a relationship characterized by constant power struggles, mutual manipulation, and exhausting competition for dominance. Neither person provides genuine supply because both are too focused on extracting validation to offer any. They remain together not from love or even need, but from a twisted recognition that they've met their match. Someone equally incapable of authentic connection and equally committed to winning rather than relating. This pairing creates spectacular volatility punctuated by temporary truces when they unite against common enemies or find mutual benefit in their combined manipulation of others. Their relationship becomes a battlefield where neither side surrenders, creating a stalemate of mutual destruction that somehow feels preferable to the vulnerability required for genuine intimacy. They age together in bitter combat, each blaming the other for the emptiness they both create. The isolated companion of convenience. As the narcissist ages and their pool of potential victims shrinks, they often settle with whoever remains available and tolerant of their behavior. This person might be geographically convenient, financially stable, or simply willing to accept the narcissist's presence despite their glaring flaws. The relationship lacks passion, genuine affection, or even the toxic intensity of earlier connections. It's simply two people occupying the same space because the alternatives feel worse than settling. This companion often has their own reasons for accepting the arrangement. Fear of being alone, practical considerations, social pressure, or simple exhaustion with the dating process. They've lowered their expectations to the point where the narcissist's minimal offerings meet their reduced standards. Neither person particularly likes the other, but they've both accepted that this lukewarm coexistence represents the best they can achieve, given their circumstances and limitations. The inevitable isolation. The bleakest truth is that many narcissists end up essentially alone, regardless of whether another person physically shares their space. Their inability to form genuine connections means that even when partnered, they exist in profound isolation, surrounded by people they've reduced to functions rather than embraced as individuals. They end up with whoever was willing to accept the smallest version of themselves, creating relationships that provide survival rather than fulfillment. The narcissist's final partnership, whatever form it takes, represents not a victory but a limitation, the best they could achieve after destroying every possibility for something genuine. They end up not with the love they claim to deserve, but with exactly what their behavior earned. Someone damaged enough, desperate enough, or dysfunctional enough to accept the crumbs they offer while calling it a relationship.